All right, I hope you're having a great evening. Coming up a little bit later in the show, we preview a new investigation that we've been working on about a term called excited delirium and why California might be outlawing the term. But first, let's get you caught up on the news of the day. One of the biggest headlines is that incoming heat. Today, Governor Gavin Newsom addressed concerns about the power grid that we're going to get into in just a minute. But overall, the governor is not concerned, but the state is partnering with organizations to help the most vulnerable communities better prepare for the extreme heat temperatures. And the state fair is also preparing for the heat. The fair starts at Cal Expo on Friday, and it's starting at a time when cities and businesses elsewhere are shutting things down early due to all the heat concerns. But with more on just how hot it's going to get, let's get things over to Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods. What are we looking at?
Excessive heat warning now. This was upgraded during the afternoon from a watch to a warning from Saturday through Sunday. Highs between 100 and 112 with warm overnight lows. That's going to extend all the way through the valley and press towards the coast. And for the high country, a heat advisory going into place for that same time frame. Highs between 90 and 100 below 7,000 feet. So even at the base of Tahoe, we are looking at extreme heat with heat illnesses possible. Highs for today, courtesy of that Delta breeze, were well below 100 for many of us. We saw 92 for Sacramento, 88 for Fairfield, Marysville at 95, although Stockton and Oroville starting to get a little close to that 100-degree mark. That southwest wind still pulling in at about 10 to 25 miles per hour, with our readings still in the 80s and 90s for the valley and the foothills, 70s up top for the Sierra. Tonight, we'll see beautiful conditions. Our overnight low, 61 degrees. Our sunrise tomorrow at 5:52, and that's really when we start to see the heat building. By the time we get to Saturday, major risk of heat illnesses and extreme heat risk for the foothills coming into play by Sunday. You can see the ridge of high pressure building in towards the state, and that's going to bring sinking, warming air, dangerous heat to the forecast. Tomorrow, we'll find those highs in the 80s for the Sierra, 90s for the foothills, 60s across the coast. And again, for the valley, we're going to keep it at least one more day in the 90s to near 100. But here it is. Look at Saturday and Sunday. Deep in the 100s for the valley, for South Lake Tahoe in the 90s. Slight chance of thunderstorms late Sunday, Alex.
All right. Thank you, Monica. And as I mentioned, Governor Newsom is not concerned about power outages with the heat. He told our political reporter today that his team had all hands on meeting yesterday and said that the state's power grid should be okay. But why is that really? In tonight's main point, our Becca Habegger is digging deeper to get you the answers.
Here on To The Point, we're not going to pull out that tired old local TV news gimmick where we try to show you how hot it is by baking cookies or frying eggs. At least not until it gets a little hotter later this week. But we are going to take a look at California's energy grid and why this summer we're in good shape to avoid any brownouts or blackouts during extreme heat. So let's go back to September 6th of last year. We were in the middle of a dangerous heat wave, and California's energy grid saw its highest demand of the past 25 years. We narrowly avoided rolling power outages thanks in no small part to all of you conserving power during those times of peak energy demand. Now, the last time we saw rolling outages was back in 2020, but a lot has changed since then. First, California has increased its solar battery storage 11-fold from 2020 until now. In 2020, the grid had just 500 megawatts of battery storage available. Now it has about 5,600 megawatts available. But what does that mean in practical terms? Well, Cal ISO, the authority that oversees 80% of the state's electricity, says 5,000 megawatts can power about 3.8 million homes for up to 4 hours before those solar batteries need to be recharged. So during periods of high demand, the grid can pull from batteries instead of relying so much on borrowing from, say, other states who themselves might be experiencing a heat wave. Now, the other big change, of course, we are no longer in a drought, and California has a lot more hydroelectricity available than it has in recent years.
At the beginning of April, we were looking at almost 2.5 times average hydro conditions, obviously putting us in a much better situation going into the summer.
Okay, Becca, so the big question is, do I need to conserve right now? Like, are we expecting any flex alerts with this upcoming heat that we're going to see this weekend?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, state energy regulators said in a tweet just hours ago, at this time, the power grid is stable and no supply shortfalls are anticipated. But of course, they are monitoring the situation and conserving energy, Alex. Never a bad idea. You can sign up for Flex Alert notifications. We've put a link to sign up for those on abc10.com/links.
And we will keep you informed as we inch closer to all that extreme heat. So make sure that you download the free ABC 10 app for a closer look at the temperatures right in your area. It's free on your device's app store. Did I mention one more time? It's free. All right. There's been a lot going on locally in the news today. So here's what else we've been talking about. Sideshows are officially banned in Modesto. Modesto police said that they want to protect both drivers and bystanders. The crackdown comes after Modesto City Council approved sideshow penalties, which includes a spectator ordinance. This means anyone watching a sideshow could be fined up to $2,500. Drivers or passengers could be fined up to $3,500. And the man accused of stabbing 3 people in Davis was in court again today. 21-year-old Carlos Dominguez remained silent and showed no emotion in today's hearing. A court-appointed doctor found him not competent to stand trial last month, and he is charged with 2 counts of murder and faces charges for attempted murder. The killing spree rocked the city of Davis just back in May. And for the first time since his escape from custody, murder suspect Eric Brill appeared in court. He is now facing a new felony charge in connection with escaping from custody. Our Roxanne Elias was in the courtroom today.
Alex, it was a short court appearance for Eric Brill, who pleaded not guilty to any of the new charges. His attorney today saying he was surprised to actually hear that he had escaped over the weekend. After a 2-day manhunt, Eric Brill stood in court accompanied by 2 guards and in shackles. This is his first appearance after escaping custody from Sutter Roseville Medical Center Sunday morning.
Today, Placer County DA's office filed a complaint charging Eric Brill with 1 felony count of escape from custody. Also alleged was an allegation that he has a prior serious or violent felony conviction, also known as a strike.
Brill was initially facing murder and kidnapping charges after being accused of taking hostages and killing one at Mahaney Park back in April. But he's now looking at a new felony charge of escape while convicted. His public defender, Brandon Bobb, spoke to us after the hearing.
So there are 2 different cases, and that's important to understand. It's the same as when we had the first couple court dates in the other case. Now we need to get discovery, police reports, and review them. So while a lot of us lived and watched what had occurred through Sunday and Monday, there's things that are not within what we saw.
The Placer County Sheriff's Office says the incident has triggered several investigations. After speaking to people in Rockland, their biggest question was, how exactly did this happen? Can you give any more details on how this inmate may have escaped?
I don't want to continue trying to be evasive. I will say the incident itself is actively under investigation, and I want to assure you that the minute we have answers, we want to provide those answers to the community.
Captain Nelson Resendez says the changes being made include looking into how they classify people. And although he can't share where Brill is being held, he says it's in an area where he's being held by himself and is observed 24 hours a day.
I would say to the people who were affected by it, we are not happy this occurred. We are sorry this occurred. We can't take it back, but what we can do is put measures in place to see that it doesn't happen again. And those things are being done right now as we speak.
Right now, Brill is being held without bail. His next court date is set for August 29th. At that time, officials will see what the next steps that need to be taken in the case. Alex, back to you.
Still ahead, homelessness continues to be one of California's top concerns. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office is addressing their tactics to try to keep people safe, plus what success can actually look like. And if you are a Bank of America customer, you'll want to hear about this one, why you might be owed some cash. Your price points is coming up next. If you are a Bank of America customer, keep an eye on your email. The bank might be reaching out to you about owing you some cash, because this week the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has ordered Bank of America to pay more than $100 million to customers, and it's all part of a $250 million fine for doing things like opening fake accounts and withholding credit cards rewards. So the government is ordering the bank to do the following. Number one is stop its repeated offenses. Number two is that the bank will identify and directly contact customers eligible for compensation. And then on top of that, they have to pay a $90 million penalty. Some of that money will be deposited into a victim relief fund. And tuition at Cal State schools might be going up soon. Trustees say it's necessary to close a massive funding gap. A 6% increase is being proposed over the next 5 years. So here's what that would mean. The first proposed increase is $342 for full-time undergraduate students starting next academic year. That would raise tuition from $5,700 to $6,000. And then after that, tuition would increase by about 6% each year. A vote on the matter is expected to happen in September. Coming up after the break, the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office addressing homelessness, what they're saying about those who have been offered services. The youngest Charles Manson follower, a convicted murderer, was released from prison. Told you about it yesterday, and now we're hearing from the victim's family. So Leslie Van Houten served 53 years in prison. An appeals court granted her parole after Governor Newsom and Governor Jerry Brown rejected her parole request dozens of times. She was convicted for the LaBianca murders in 1969. The daughter, Corey LaBianca, told ABC News in a statement, quote, "My family and I have been strong for 50 years. The decision to release her was wrong." Leslie Van Houten will live in a halfway house for the next year to adjust to today's society. And a woman recovering tonight after being attacked by a homeless man that you see here. The attack happened. She was just 68 years old, and she was attacked with a metal broomstick. And this just happened minutes after the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office held a news conference about helping the unhoused. The Sheriff's Office said that during a recent operation, they contacted 198 people on the street and offered them services. And they say that only one person accepted the resources. Our Garage Paul Sang is live in studio with more from the Sheriff's Office on why he thinks more should be done, right?
Yeah, and Alex, the one thing that the Sheriff, Jim Cooper, is asking for is for more funding to address problems that prevent homeless individuals from asking for help. Now, this video was shared with us by the Sheriff's Office, where deputies contacted those 198 homeless individuals. The sheriff explained his effort is to get people off the streets and get them the help they need. Now, he says 2/3 of the jail population right now has some kind of mental illness, and he is asking for more funding to tackle that. Now, he is also floating the idea for conservatorship for those with severe mental illness and drug court for those who are impacted.
In the homeless community, a lot of violence, a lot of crime out there. Sheriff, my job is to protect everyone. My job is to make people safe, whether you're housed or unhoused, and that's really the big issue. And during the 2 years of COVID, there was basically zero law enforcement presence in the camps, the homeless camps, because they didn't want anybody going to jail.
And now the sheriff added there are predators who prey on homeless individuals. Now, we will go much more in depth with this story tonight on Late News tonight at 11, where I spoke to a homeless advocate who says he agrees with some of the ideas the sheriff has floated, but also disagrees with others. Alex?
All right, thanks, Garage Paul. Californians see homelessness as one of the state's top issues as the number of homeless families in Sacramento increases. We do have some better news. Our Jeannie Nguyen has a look at what is being done to help, and some are getting results.
For 2 years, this family of 6 struggled to find a stable place to live.
We felt like we was being punished for something that we didn't do.
It started in 2020. After their North Highlands apartment caught on fire, their home was a total loss.
I'm shattered at this point because before then, we had just went through a similar situation of homelessness.
Both Erica Knight and her husband, Rodney Lewis Sr., were faced with it again, but this time with 4 children.
It's heartbreaking when your kids is actually when they're gonna get a place, or when can they get a cooked meal, or or why we can't get a place. How can we explain that to kids?
The family bounced between sleeping in their cars and hotel rooms.
Embarrassed to see us sleeping in our cars. nowhere to use the restroom. It was the worstest feeling ever.
And just last year, Knight says she couldn't continue to put her family through this pain after her daughter spoke up.
My oldest daughter, she said, "Mom, are we ever gonna get a place? Are we ever gonna get an apartment?" I went to the bathroom and I cried so hard. I cried so hard.
That's when she called the Society of St. Vincent de Paul Holy Spirit Church and asked for help. The church's program is funded through grants, donations, and fundraisers. Through the program, the family was finally able to move into an apartment. Nearly a year later, they're still in that apartment.
It's a place, you know. We're not out on the street anymore. We don't have to drive around all night.
According to the state's Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency, homeless families in Sacramento County seeking resources is on the rise again. In 2021, 4,492 families with children sought access to services, and in 2022, that number jumped to 5,281 families.
A lot of these programs started out during the pandemic when schools weren't open no more and they started seeing more kids.
Lucia Vega is the program director at Mustard Seed School, a loaves and fishes program that provides free school for children that are experiencing homelessness.
We see the families that are camping down by the river and they come here for school, for showers, for food.
Since the pandemic, Vega says less families are coming to Mustard Seed. She believes it's because these families need so much more than school.
It makes me sad because there's not enough resources to help everybody. You know, there's not enough shelter beds to put families in shelter.
But for Knight and Lewis, they say they no longer want to be another statistic and will continue to do better for their kids.
It's just like, look, this is your home. You know, you have a home now. You can stop worrying. You have a home.
And I do want to mention that Knight is now working to become a nurse. And if you need help in the Sacramento area, you can call 211 to better learn about those available resources. Still ahead, an ABC 10 investigation into a theory used by law enforcement agencies and coroners as a cause of death. Let's get a check of that 10-day forecast as we keep talking about triple-digit heat returning as early as Friday. You see 105 all the way until Monday, seeing 104. Make sure you are taking care of yourself, drinking water, stay hydrated, and make sure you check on your loved ones. Now, we like to end the show with what we're working on for tomorrow. So our investigative team has been up to something very big. We've been looking into the term excited delirium. It's a theory used by law enforcement agencies and coroners as a cause of death normally seen in cases involving law enforcement restraints. A local family learned about it during the pandemic. It was the cause of death listed on their son, for their son, after he was restrained by police. So investigative reporter Andy Judson joins us with more on this.
Yeah, Alex, excited delirium is described as having bizarre behavior, incoherency, extreme strength, and in some cases, the person can suddenly drop dead from it. But it's a...
He said, "Please don't kill me." One officer was kneeling on the back of his neck.
Oh my God.
He knew he was dead.
The day after that, we heard for the first time the term excited delirium.
Why is it that excited delirium is coming up almost exclusively in the context of restraint deaths?
He's blue. He's pretty blue, dude.
If the police is at fault, let's call for it.
When they have nothing else, they say excited delirium.
It's made up to cover up.
Angela's not here to tell his story. We are his voice.
Now, as you saw, excited delirium is a controversial term because data shows that most cases happen in the context of encounters with law enforcement, and often when somebody is in custody. And right now, California is the first state that is considering outlawing the term excited delirium. It may be the start of a nationwide movement. And we'll have more on that in our full two-part investigation, Alex.
Yeah, and you can watch both parts of our investigation into Excited Delirium tomorrow and Friday night at 6:30 right here on To The Point. And we also want to remind you that we do have a text group for To The Point. You can scan the QR code on your screen to get messages from the team about what is coming up in the show. You can also use that phone number to text us story ideas and ask us questions about what you see. And as always, if there is something that you think we should be looking into, make sure you reach out to me and the team. Again, you can text us or you can always send an email at tothepoint@abc10.com. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.